Americans have long held one of the most powerful passports in the world, unlocking seamless entry into over 180 countries without ever filling out a visa application. But that era may be over. In 2025, a new travel reality is emerging, and it's one most Americans are completely unprepared for. Behind the scenes, a quiet storm is brewing. Countries that once welcomed U.S. travelers with open arms are now tightening their borders. Electronic travel authorizations, pre-screening forms, mandatory approvals, and yes, even full visa requirements. What used to be a casual vacation plan could soon require weeks of paperwork and hundreds in hidden fees. Why now? Why the sudden crackdown on American tourists? The answer lies in a complex mix of geopolitics, strained diplomacy, and rising global resentment toward U.S. policy. This isn't just about paperwork, it's about power. And what comes next will shock you. From Europe's new digital fortress to South America's diplomatic backlash, here are 10 countries that are quietly ending visa-free travel for Americans one border at a time. Number 10. Brazil. For years, Brazil was a bright spot for American tourists. From the beaches of Rio to the Amazon rainforest, U.S. citizens could enter without a visa for stays up to 90 days. But all that is changing fast. In 2025, Brazil is rolling back its visa waiver for Americans, citing reciprocity and rising political tensions. The Brazilian Ministry of Justice confirmed that, starting in late 2025, U.S. travelers will need to apply for an e-visa before entering the country. This decision didn't come out of nowhere. Brazil has been quietly reevaluating its visa policies ever since the U.S. refused to reinstate a visa waiver for Brazilian citizens post-pandemic. In diplomatic circles, it's being called a tit-for-tat response. But the economic fallout could be massive. Analysts estimate this move could cut American tourism to Brazil by over 60%, putting nearly $2.1 billion in annual revenue at risk. Businesses dependent on U.S. Prime, travel hotels, tour companies, airlines are already scrambling to adjust. And the new e-visa? It comes with an $80 fee and a processing time of up to 5 business days, making spontaneous trips nearly impossible. Is Brazil setting a precedent? As U.S. influence wanes globally, other countries are watching and following. The question is, will Americans finally realize they're no longer the world's preferred guests? Number 9. Thailand. Thailand has always been a backpacker's dream: cheap, beautiful, and visa-free. But that visa-free part? It might not last much longer. Thai immigration authorities have confirmed they are seriously considering replacing the 30-day visa exemption for U.S. citizens with a mandatory e-visa system in 2025. What's driving this change? Immigration control. According to Thai border security reports, over 12% of U.S. visitors overstayed their welcome in 2024. Combined with concerns over drug trafficking and digital nomads abusing visa loopholes, authorities are cracking down hard. In fact, some officials argue the current system is too lenient and that Americans are taking advantage of it. If implemented, the new policy would reduce the visa-free entry period by 50% and slap on an e-visa fee of THB 10, which is around $30 plus and of Tisa%. For a country that once prided itself on open hospitality, this would be a dramatic policy reversal. Early tests of the e-visa portal have already begun in limited regions like Chiang Mai and Phuket. Will this kill Thailand's tourism appeal? Maybe not immediately, but the friction is rising. For U.S. travelers used to easy access, Thailand's new system could mark the end of a golden era. Number 8. United Arab Emirates. The UAE has been a magnet for American tourists and business travelers for over a decade, especially due to its convenient visa-on-arrival system. But change is coming. Quietly, Emirati officials are moving toward a pre-approval visa model, citing increased scrutiny around national security. Travel analysts report that processing fees could rise by up to 35% in 2025, and spontaneous travel is projected to drop by nearly 25% by This is a country that's built its tourism sector on fast, flexible access, but now the sands are shifting, and it's not just about visas. New biometric screening protocols, stricter background checks, and higher rejection rates for visa-on-arrival applicants are already being piloted in major airports. The UAE's shift isn't just bureaucratic, it's strategic, with growing geopolitical tension between the US and Middle Eastern nations over military operations, trade embargoes, and foreign policy. Emirati leaders are sending a clear message: respect our process or don't enter at all. Is this just the start of a larger Middle East backlash against US travelers? If the UAE is moving in this direction, expect others to follow. Number 7. South Korea. In 2024, South Korea made a quiet announcement that few Americans noticed, but they should have. The government intends to expand its Korea electronic travel authorization to include US citizens by late 2025. This marks a huge departure from its previous visa-free stance. What's behind the shift? Rising immigration fraud, increased illegal employment, and strained diplomatic discussions with the US over military spending and North Korea policy. According to an internal survey, 40% of South Korean border officials support stricter entry measures for Americans. Already, 10% of US visitors in 2024 faced enhanced verification checks, including on-the-spot interviews and secondary screening. Korea Electronic Travel Authorization isn't just a formality, it's a gatekeeper. Processing can take up to 72 hours, and applicants must disclose criminal history, employment details, and lodging plans. And if denied, no entry, even if you've booked everything. The message from Seoul is clear: travel is a privilege, not a right. For Americans accustomed to breezing through Korean customs, that privilege is about to be tested. Number 6. Argentina. Once prided itself on being one of the most accessible South American nations for US tourists. No paperwork, no fees. Just show up and explore Buenos Aires, Patagonia, or Mendoza. But in a sharp reversal, Argentina has announced that by early 2026, Americans will no longer qualify for automatic visa-free travel. This comes on the heels of Argentina's new diplomatic realignment strategy, which aims to rebalance foreign influence, especially from nations like the United States. US-Argentine relations have soured over trade disagreements, IMF debt restructuring demands, and political meddling allegations. Now, the visa exemption is becoming collateral damage in a growing ideological rift. American tourists will soon be required to obtain a reciprocal visa, essentially a rebranded entry tax aimed at equalizing treatment between Argentina and nations that restrict Argentine citizens. The fee? An estimated $160, valid for 10 years, but the catch is in the paperwork. Processing delays have ballooned to 3 to 4 weeks, and denied applications are not appealable. For a country that once welcomed 1.2 million US tourists a year, this is more than a policy change. It's a political statement. Argentina is drawing a line, and it's US citizens who are paying the price. Number 5. Morocco. Morocco has long been a gateway between Europe and Africa for American travelers, offering 90 days visa-free entry, breathtaking cultural heritage, and minimal red tape. But that's all being rethought. In mid-2025, Morocco's government confirmed that it is developing a new digital pre-screening system that will apply to all US passport holders. Why the sudden clampdown? Security. After a surge in undocumented migrants attempting to cross into Europe via Morocco and concerns about foreigners overstaying their visas, authorities are tightening the screws. A leaked 2025 Moroccan Interior Ministry memo specifically named U.S. citizens among the top visa abusers, citing over 700 cases of overstays and work violations in just 12 months. The new digital authorization system, modeled loosely on Europe's EDIAS, will require Americans to register 5 days before entry, submit biometric data, and pay $27 fee. It's not an outright visa, but it's a clear warning shot. The days of casual American access are ending. Morocco may still market itself as a friendly destination, But beneath the surface, there's growing skepticism toward the US role in North African geopolitics. This visa shift is just the beginning. Number 4. Japan. Japan has long been a top destination for American travelers, especially post-COVID. And with visa-free access for 90 days, it's been one of the most frictionless countries to visit. But that friction is now building. In 2025, the Japanese Immigration Bureau quietly announced a mandatory travel pre-clearance system that will go live in early 2026, and Americans are on the list. The policy, dubbed the Secure Access Entry Program, is designed to pre-screen all arrivals for risk factors, criminal history, travel patterns, and digital footprint data. Yes, digital footprint, social media posts, public comments, and even financial behavior can be reviewed. Critics are already calling it a privacy nightmare, but Japan insists it's about safety and transparency. The truth? Japan has been growing uneasy about US political instability, rising gun violence, and what it calls unpredictable behavior among select tourists. 2024 saw a 19% increase in US second citizens detained or deported for minor offenses, prompting a rethink of the visa-free policy. While the program isn't an outright visa, it sends a crystal-clear message. Japan may still want American dollars, but not without conditions and not without surveillance. Number 3. Germany. Germany, and the European Union at large, is launching a full-scale travel revolution, and Americans are no longer exempt. Starting in 2025, the EU's long-awaited ETS European Travel Information and Authorization System will become mandatory for US citizens. Germany, as a key enforcer, will lead the charge. No more showing up and strolling into Berlin or Munich. Every US visitor must now apply in advance, pay a fee, and pass a security screening. And here's the kicker. ETIAS is not just a rubber stamp. It can be denied for vague reasons, including insufficient ties to your home country or lack of intent to leave. In other words, if you look like a flight risk, you're out. This is a massive reversal. For decades, Americans moved through Europe like royalty backed by NATO diplomacy and Cold War-era alliances. But Germany is pushing back hard after years of US pressure on energy policy, military spending, and trade tariffs. Berlin is now asserting its sovereignty at the border. ETIAS is expected to reduce American tourism to Germany by up to 20% in the first year. But for German officials, that's acceptable collateral damage in what they see as the end of transatlantic exceptionalism. Number 2. Turkey, once the darling of US travelers seeking exotic adventures without bureaucratic headaches. But Ankara's patience has worn thin. In 2025, Turkish officials revoked the e-visa waiver for US citizens, reinstating a mandatory pre-screened tourist visa that requires personal interviews in many cases. This isn't about tourism, it's about politics. US-Turkey relations have been spiraling downward for years, marred by clashes over Syria, NATO tensions, and support for Kurdish groups. And now, Turkey is making it personal. Americans must now pay a $150 visa fee, submit fingerprints, proof of hotel bookings, income verification, and in some cases, even a letter of intent. The wait time? Up to 30 days. Many travelers are calling it a de facto travel ban without the official label. Tourism operators in Istanbul report cancellations are up 42% year over year among Americans, and the Turkish government doesn't seem to care. Why? Because Turkey is realigning its tourism focus toward Russia, China, and the Gulf states nations it sees as more geopolitically reliable. If Turkey is shutting its doors, it's not because Americans are bad tourists, it's because America's global influence is fading fast. Number 1. China. No country is sending a louder message to US citizens than China. As of 2025, China has reintroduced a full visa requirement for Americans, and it's more restrictive than ever. Gone are the days of quick business trips or layovers in Beijing. Now, every US traveler must undergo an intense vetting process, including face-to-face interviews at Chinese consulates, biometric scans, and digital background checks. But it goes further. Chinese officials are also cross-referencing travelers with social media activity. Posts critical of China, especially about Taiwan, Hong Kong, or Xinjiang, can lead to immediate rejection. Some Americans have even reported being blacklisted for previously legal but politically sensitive statements. This crackdown is not just policy, it's punishment. US-China relations are at historic lows, and Beijing is using visas as a tool of leverage. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has explicitly said that reciprocity is no longer enough. Strategic restraint must be enforced. The result? A staggering 73% drop in US tourist entries in just 12 months. Business visas are even harder to obtain. China is not just closing its borders, it's closing the chapter on an era of mutual cooperation. For Americans, it's the clearest signal yet. You are not welcome here. So what does all of this mean? For decades, American citizens held a golden passport, one that symbolized freedom, access, and unchallenged global privilege. That era is ending fast. What used to be easy is now entangled in red tape, biometric scans, geopolitical resentment, and rising global distrust. This isn't about making travel safer, it's about shifting power. Countries are no longer bowing to the US, they're pushing back, one visa policy at a time. Americans who once breezed across borders are now being scrutinized, taxed, and even rejected. The global travel collapse isn't coming with explosions or headlines. It's happening in embassies, airport terminals, and online portals. Quiet, bureaucratic, and very, very real. If you're American, ask yourself, where can I go now that won't demand proof, paperwork, and political allegiance? That list is shrinking. And unless something changes, the American passport may soon become just another document, no longer a VIP pass to the world. The world is moving on. The question is, are you ready for it?